Welcome everyone to this Empyrion Workshop Showcase. Today, join me as we take a look at creator requested the TDN Glacier Star. The TDN Glacier Star is an unlock level 25, size class 57, supersized capital vessel coming to us from creator TitanActual. This design is based on the Lumeris Dreadnought from the game Endless Space 2. It's also stated in the notes that this is not really designed for planetary landings because landing planet side, it has very high fuel consumption. Now this ship is massive, and as I was going through it getting ready for this video, I kept getting turned around. So if I do happen to miss a section of it, I do apologize for that. This is a very large ship. Because of the size of the ship, I had a hard time deciding where I wanted to start the walkthrough with. So we're going to start here at the front with this cargo bay area. All cargo bay doors have two separate doors, so if you lose the first one in combat, you still have a second one. Make sure you do not lose oxygenation through your ship. After a very long entryway, you see we have this smaller area here, which you can of course use for landing, or just continue on into the main area, where you have two landing pads right here next to the entry. You have two more on the other side, and in the middle, this very large drop down for other ships that can be parked down below in the lower hangar bay section, and you do have two more parking spots over here on this side. This lower level area is also where your repair bay module is, so you will have to come down here for repairing any of your vessels. While this may look like it is suited for hover vessels, it really is meant just to use small vessels in the ship because again, it is too high of fuel cost when it goes into planet atmosphere. As you can see, the inside is fairly visually striking just like the outside of it. There are many elements in the ship that are done specifically for cosmetic purposes, which makes it feel more like a real ship in the end. On each side of this room, we have an airlock, which allows you to do some spacewalking right from in here. And of course, as I said, all of the cargo doors have double door sets so that you are protected in case of damage to the first door. In the lower deck, coming towards the front of the ship, we have access to our fuel, ammo, and O2 storage decks A and B. And as you can see, we have elevators that lead up here, with the straight ahead being our storage area. On this side of the lower hangar bay, you'll see we have this cargo door that will automatically open. And coming through, we have on the left, under the red, a medic station, and on our right, behind the blue, an oxygen station. Coming up the stairs here, we find a nice sign that tells us a bit about the different decks of the Glacier Star. As you can see from this, it doesn't really look like there's that much going on, but as we continue through this, you'll see just how busy this ship is. Coming up the stairs here, we come into the next deck area where you'll see we have farms, engineering, and engine rooms, as well as access up here to another view down into the hangar bay of the lower side. Coming into this area, we are now in the farming room. As you can see, we have numbers along the ceiling, 1 through 8, and that is the different grow pod areas that we have throughout this room. Each of the growing plot sections is 9 by 3, giving you a total of 27 on each, for a total of 54 per side here. In this room, we have 4 of these double-sided sections, and each section holds 54 total growing plots. That means our entire growing plot count for this area is 216. Each of the individual growing pod rows has its own fridge, so you have immediate storage for any of the food that you produce in here. There is also the one single food processor in the middle of this room. In the middle of the room, we have side access doors leading to our engine areas, and everything just looks like it's an actual engine room like you would find in a proper starship, like on Star Wars or Star Trek, something like that. Coming out of the other side of the room and continuing forward, we come into the engineering area where you'll see a couple of our larger generators. And coming down, you will find our core and our warp drive, as well as our fuel tank for the warp drive. Now, each of these sections like this in the ship have elevators on each side, giving you multiple points that you can go up and down between the different decks. However, for simplicity, we are back over here where we came up outside the lower flight deck, making it easier to keep track of where we are. So now, taking these side doors over here, we're going to take the elevator up. Here you can see we are back into the main flight deck area where you came in originally through the front. Now, before we head on to the next section, one more point is with the elevators coming up to this section here on each side, we have this nice little lookout plus elevator access to the next level up from here as well. Here at the cargo door connecting between this section and the hangar bay, you see once again we have, of course, our medic station and oxygen station right here behind the red and blue shutter doors. And then continuing on here, we come into our construction area, fabrication area, where we have a total of 8 advanced constructors and a large number of cargo boxes right in here next to them. Exiting from this construction area, we come to another one of these hallways with the elevators, and on this side we have access to the Armory. Coming down, we are now in the Armory, or as I would like to say, more of the planning and strategizing area of the ship. You see we have, of course, cargo boxes along the walls. We also have multiple armor lockers and closets, giving you and your crew plenty of space for storing your armor, as well as some other nice clothes. And of course, this armory would be incomplete if it did not have the repair stations, one on each side. Now, in the far back corner here, we have a sign with nice red text that says live fire range, weapons firing beyond this point, where you could come in and of course practice shooting your weapons if you want to against the nice targets here. Unfortunately, they will not move on their own, so it's not going to be quite like a normal firing range. Back here by the elevators, next to our constructor bay and the hangar bay, going on up to the 3rd level, brings us back where we now have a nice view looking down into the hangar bay itself. And you can see we have our crew quarters and hospital over here, as well as our flight control and main bridge over here. Here we are in the entrance to our hospital, pharmacy, and emergency area. As you can see, we have an emergency room and provider offices, and on this side, a pharmacy and medical labs. In the pharmacy medical labs, you see we have a sign for medical plant lab B. We also have a fridge and food processor here. That is because we have some more grow plots up in here specifically for our medical plants. And on the other side of the room, we have medical plant lab A, where we have even more grow plots. Now, when you first enter into this room, you're going to hear the sound of a large number of doors opening. What happens is when you enter in that area, sensors will trigger all of these shutter doors along this side of the ship to open. Going into the emergency room and provider offices will be the same thing. You'll hear the large number of shutter doors opening, and here you'll find, instead of the medical labs, the provider offices up here, which of course are nice little well-lit, very aesthetically pleasing office areas. And then here are more patient rooms on the other side. Heading past the medical bay area, we come to another elevator section, as well as some nice decorative planning sections. We also have access to, interestingly, a holodeck, which unfortunately in the game right now is just a large blue room, as there is no actual holodeck function. Across from the holodeck, we have access to the galley, where everybody can come in, have something to eat, with the 2 food processors and kitchenette set up in here. And coming to the end of this hallway, you will see sign for the crew quarters both starboard and port sides. And going up in the elevator, you come into the actual quarters area where you'll find numerous rooms with bunk beds. And taking the elevators at the end of each hallway, you will go down into the showering area where you'll find your showers and toilets. It's also notable on this lower deck area, there are more rooms with bunk beds, and you have access back to the main elevator leading back up into the main hallway leading to here. Now, do you feel lost yet? Because I'm starting to. Back by the hospital medical area, we still have our flight control area that we need to check out, and the main bridge. So going through this elevator and going up, we come into a long little pathway that's going to take us through the upper area of our main hangar. Here you will find another checkpoint type room where on each side you'll find elevators leading to missile silos, the briefing room, and the main bridge. On the other end of the room, we have elevators that lead down to those middle rooms on the hangar bay floor, and up here we have our flight control deck, which is where you can look down into the hangar bay itself, but there is no piloting seat here, so you will not be operating the ship from in this room. Now, taking the elevators for the missile silos, briefing room, and main bridge, we go up another level and are presented with a new room similar to that one. Here we are at the center of Deck 4 access, where you see to the right we have nuclear missile silos, and of course on each side of the room here we have another oxygen station and medic station hidden behind the color-coded shelter doors. Going through here we come to our security checkpoint, which when we walk in here, you are surrounded by sentry guns. So if you're not authorized to be here, they will shoot you. Into the next room, you see we have nuclear missile silos 1 through 20. Now, these are not functional in that they do not have actual missiles you can launch anywhere, blow up anything on the planet. It is purely for the aesthetics of the design. At the very end of this room, we have doors on the left and right leading to an observation area. This observation area is nothing more than a set of shutters that show you a narrow view outside between some of the turrets out front. Back in the Deck 4 central room, going through this door here takes us to an elevator that leads us up to the top of the flight deck tower. Now, from this room, we have some more options. We can go back through the elevators and go up to the remaining rooms, or we can go access to the aft bridge and missile assembly. Coming here, we come to the Deck 4 missile assembly area, where you can see we also have an elevator back to the aft bridge or exterior landing bay. So here we are looking down on the missile construction area, which is purely for cosmetic purposes. And taking this elevator here leads us up first to this reception type room, where you see we have an elevator to the emergency room, as well as access to the exterior landing pads. Taking the door at the other end of the landing pad will carry you back into the previous room where we were on Deck 4. Now this ship is so big, it cannot be handled by just one bridge. So taking this same elevator to the very top brings you to the aft side bridge area. And back here in the Deck 4 room outside the nuclear missile silos, we're going to continue up to another part of Deck 4, the briefing room. And then finally, at the very top of these elevators, we come into the main bridge area. Once again, this is the TDN Glacier Star, and it is an unlock level 25, size class 56.85 capital vessel. With 118 fuel tanks, it can carry a total of 580,200 fuel, and with the thrusters turned off like it is now, you see I have about 83 hours of use. Of course, if you decide to land this planet side, you will burn through a lot of that just maneuvering down to the planet surface. With 25 oxygen tanks, it can hold 50,000 O2, and interestingly enough, requires 58,445 oxygen to fill it up. Despite the size of the ship, there's only 6 ventilators through it. You also have a complement of 4 oxygen stations, 4 medic stations, and 1 clone chamber. Of course, this ship is fully armed, with 6 flak turrets, 6 cannon turrets, 6 minigun turrets, 2 multi-turrets, 4 sentry guns, 4 plasma turrets, 4 rocket turrets, 4 rocket launchers, 8 pulse laser turrets, and 2 artillery turrets. In total, there are 162 cargo boxes and 26 ammo boxes on board, with 9 fridges, 4 food processors, and the 8 advanced constructors. As can be expected, this is a very expensive ship to build. Considering that it requires nearly 163,000 iron and 115,000 sathium, the rest of the resources are really not that bad. The only other substantial ones are of course the 18,299 Erestrum and Zascosium needed to build it. Overall, I really like the Glacier Star for the design itself, and especially in terms of aesthetics, makes it feel like a real ship. This definitely has areas that make me feel like I am inside of a ship from maybe Star Trek or something. So if you're interested in trying out the TDN Glacier Star by TitanActual, I will have a link below in the description. And whether you try it out in your own game or you just like it here in the video, be sure to leave a thumbs up on the workshop page for it if you like it. And of course, if you do try the ship out and you find some things you want to make creative suggestions about, be sure to leave those on the workshop page as well. Well, that is it for today's workshop showcase. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave me a like, leave me a comment, and hit subscribe if you haven't done so already. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Spicy. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to keep it spicy this week, and I will see you in the next video.